Welcome back to the Light Renegades. My name is Starr. Thank you for joining me today, everyone. I have a lot of information that I hope is going to be helpful for some out there. So apologies that I've spent some time away. I didn't know that I needed this break also to really comb through everything that I've been wanting to bring forward again. And I'm in deep research mode at the minute, everyone, because I really want to make sure that what I bring forward is exactly what I want to say. Because, there's been spaces and phases of times in the past when I was a little less aware, and I shared some information that, kind of after a few weeks, after a few months, it flipped on its head. So I've learned enough now to be able to say, okay, if there's something that is here that I feel like I need to bring forward, I'm really going to sit with it and kind of assess all manners of that understanding in every which way that I can before I bring it forward, because I feel like what I'm sitting on is a strain that has been running through the entirety of my awakening story, and something that I think that I've been waiting to fully lock into and to be able to face, I want to say, because every awakened bit of my life is this awakening story. Every bit of my journey has been not just for myself but for others. So I know what I have to share next is going to be perhaps quite jarring for others to sit with, but also a space to help you understand, perhaps processing where you are in your own spiritual journey, your own life path, however you want to word it. It's entirely up to you. But I knew that I had to share some things today that have been coming through as downloads over the weekend. And what guided me to do this was that I saw a lot of feathers today. This is one of so many feathers that I saw today, but the most pretty one. That I love when feathers have like this little brown tinge. Like that's exactly how it looks. It looks like it's painted, and I saw this and I thought, if it's still here on my way back home, then I'm going to pick it up. So feathers were allowing for me to know that I needed to step forward. And black and white, yin and yang has been a theme, a very strong theme for the past couple of weeks, just hilariously so. I've been absolutely hounded by black and white cats, black and white cats everywhere. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm listening, I promise. And I also found this twig, which in the Witching's runes defines that feminine. So I thought, there's a lot stepping forward. There's a lot that I've been experiencing, and not just myself, many others out there. There is something happening with the divine feminine energy and this idea of balancing the masculine and the feminine at a very profound level that I think is hitting the entirety of the collective. So just be aware of that, everyone. We have some very potent and planetary alignments happening at this time as well. Mercury retrograde is absolutely retrograding off the Richter scale, and I think we also have Saturn coming into retrograde soon. So we are feeling a lot, those that are open, those that are aware, and that's what I want to speak about today. I was getting so many very, very clear downloads of understanding over this weekend that I think might help some at this moment in time. So I've also been waiting because I was waiting to receive my whiteboard, everybody, which I'm very, very excited about. So today we're going to be speaking about the self and others. And I drew this little diagram to kind of explain what I want to share. So this is going to be us, the self. And anytime we step into a sphere of understanding with others, it's the perceived self that we are pushing forward, the projection in the mirrors from the other person stepping forward, the potential mass, the shadow and the light self, and also the higher self here. And I think all of this is going to be backwards. I don't know how to rectify that, but I didn't really think this through. Anyway, I feel like it's just important to have that understanding there. So the downloads that I was receiving this weekend was that there is a lot that we are having to be aware of, manage, and also just witness in others when we are stepping forward in conversations with others in a sphere of deciding who we want to be in our life and why. And I think I'm sharing this because we have Mercury retrograde, which is always a time of sifting through the past. A lot of people from the past come back around, and it's time to really assess. And also a lot of lessons step forward. And I think that we don't perhaps perceive a lot of this when we are first starting to awaken. We are deciding and understanding and deciphering the differentiations between all of this. And the mass and the ego and the perceived self is very difficult to grasp at all times. Sometimes it's louder than others. And other times, our ego is leading. And in terms of a safety space, more than not, and this was something that I was really having to grapple with this journey, is this ego self trying to protect me. And this can come out in all manner of ways. And now we all know this, but there is something to being very, very, very aware right now why something is happening in your life, what people are doing in your life, and why. Because the lessons are needing to be learned so that we can move forward. So what I've drawn here at the bottom with all of these spheres and all of these layers going through is what I feel like I've been very highly attuned to in the past 5 years in my awakening space. This idea of the spiral here being the awakening and healing journey, and also the space between the shadow and light throughout that entire space. And, you know, I've said that I feel like I'm smack bang between shadow and light a lot of the time. And this is always something that I found very, very interesting about self. It's like I can see both sides very, very clearly. And I feel like this was something that I was having to learn a lot of discernment with. And you've all witnessed my space on here be all of that. So the journey of the self is a spiral. The life path that you've been living is a spiral. And then you've also got the timelines that are running in between this. And something that I've been researching this weekend is the higher plane of, what do we want to say, archons and energies that might be ruling these timelines in between. And, you know, this can go through to religion too. Am I going to say that? Okay. And religion as well, in terms of like strict doctrine and what that means and those convergence points. And what I was sharing in the very first video that I came back with after some time away is that I've been having to understand and be okay with all of these things existing all at the exact same time. And I drew this connection between all of these spirals and symbols because I feel like this is what we're living in a lot of the time, specifically those that are aware right now. No matter how deep you feel like you're into spirituality or wherever you are in your spaces, religion or whatever, I feel like this becomes more and more obvious to you. You get given access and the keys to a level of depth of knowledge that I think you don't understand unless you've decided to walk a path of understanding something a little bit deeper, whatever that looks like in life. So we've all got these spheres that we bring together and these timelines that are a convergence point between the two. And I was listening to some videos this weekend about the dysfunction between the spaces in between, and also the ideas of others clashing between our spheres of understanding, and also the higher level expressions and expectations of who is ruling over these timelines. And everyone that's here, that's been here for a while, you know my thoughts and my feelings on a few things, you know, the reptilian order, the Luciferian timelines, all of that type of stuff. And it's gotten even deeper. When they say new levels, new devils, my gosh, yeah, I feel like I've graduated from a space that once was, and now I've gone to university in terms of these understandings. And I was like, whoa, okay, there's even more of this to manage and understand. So on a basic level, remember that whenever you step into a space with anyone, you're dealing with all of this, which is why it's so important to be very intentional with who you are and what you say. And, you know, I've learned this the hard way, very much the hard way for a lot of my life. We all do. We all say and do things and we forget that there is going to be repercussions. And then it hits us and we're like, oh, okay, I understand. I see this. But when you are an aware person, you have to hold all of this at the exact same time and be very aware of yourself, what you say, and also others stepping towards you for all the reasons imaginable. So I'm sharing this because I think that people are in a space of understanding this at a deeper capacity, but also trying to understand exactly what is going on in your space. And where I am right now, and why I said I've been holding back and sharing what I want to share, because I'm starting to see and realize and understand that we are in very, very, very crucial times right now with regards to our life paths and our pathway moving forward, which is why I've always said on this space, use your discernment wisely, take what information resonates with you and leave the rest, because there is a lot of distortion that goes on in these spaces, and specifically when you're opening yourself up to the everything. And I had a meeting this morning with a Christian person because I had a lot of questions about some things, and I thought, I don't have the knowledge of the Bible that I want to right now to be able to bring forward some information. So I was like, let me just go to a straight source. And through serendipitous understandings, this person was brought into my life, and they've been willing to open up to me and share some things of their personal journey, but also help me understand some aspects that I've been wanting to know from a Christian perspective. So there is something to trusting where you are being guided at this time, but also knowing that you are holding a lot at any given moment. And, you know, I think that at times we really don't give ourselves enough credit, those that are opening up to the spaces of the everything and the all, because there is a lot that is having to be contemplated in any given interaction, in any given moment. And I feel like I've been hyper aware of this for some time, which is why I've tried to move very strategically in my spaces to make sure that I'm doing exactly what is best for me. And that has to be the full truth. That has to be your truth. You have to be moving from what is best to you in heart in any given moment. And I think that right now, don't move too quickly is what I want to share with anyone, because I feel like there is a lot that is being brought to the table to be filtered through and to be purged. There has been so much purging energy every which way that I look. Every client that I've ever been with is suddenly spin around and just been like, so much is going on for me. And I was like, you're in direct alignment. Please don't worry. There is a lot happening right now being brought to the surface for a lot. And that's just where we are. And this might not be where you are, you know, take what resonates for you. But I wanted to bring that forward for those that might feel like things are just at the moment, because a lot's happening, and not just in our personal spaces, but in the outer stratospheres as well. And right now, galactic spaces and spaces of spirituality, and I want to say religious sphere, are at complete odds. And for the entirety of my awakening, I've been trying to understand where this convergence point happens. And if I'm being honest with you, everyone, there is two very stark differentiations between these spaces that I think is happening right now. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of why it's only these two spheres that is happening right now. And I'm not quite there yet with everything that I do want to share, but know that I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Information is dropping in, and then I will be ready to present what I've been sat on for a little while. But I wanted to share this very, very funny little thing that appeared. And I went to go and touch my favorite holly tree that I walk past every time I walk this certain way home. And the other day I filmed a reading, and I kept getting tripped up on the word Pleiadium, because I kept hearing Pleiadian, obviously, and I was hearing the word Pleiadium, and I was like, oh, I'm trying to say Pleiadium, but Pleiadian keeps stepping forward, and I kept saying it, and I couldn't get it right. And it's just funny to me, the things that happen. So this little sticker, I don't know if you can see it properly, maybe there, of a Pleiadium, was at the bottom of this holly tree, and it took me a second to figure out exactly what it was, but it's a little figurine who is in pink, which is like a little fairy that I also put on an Instagram post a couple of days ago. So there was always these synchronicities that are completely always guiding my life, and I know that so many others out there are in this space. And something that I found very, very interesting, because to me there is a very interesting correlation, but also I want to say point of contention in a lot of spaces right now. This idea of the voice of God, and this idea of the voice of other things out there, and this idea of the voice of spirit and being guided and led in such a way that, you know, I feel like I've always been guided. And what's the differentiation between the voice of God and anything else? And I feel like that is where I'm at right now, in trying to understand what that truly means for someone. Because, you know, I guess I would be put in the realm of understanding that my feet are very much 2 foot in the new age, but my history of understanding came from, you know, very strict doctrine somewhere, Christianity, but I went to Catholic schooling. So there has been very extreme emotions of a lot of things being brought to the surface that is at the core of me. And I know that it's not just me, and there's been many on my life path that I've met that have been of the similar understanding. You know, we reflect back to each other that which we are. So I know that I've had many step forward in my life that have gone through the kind of like a very similar journey to me, not necessarily stepping into the new age as much as I have, but just have this very conflicting black and white energy within them. And, you know, I've touched either end of this spectrum, I think, to the highest degree possible in consciousness at this moment in time, not from an egoic or prideful space, but I think just because that's what I asked for. That was what I asked for, and they knew that I was going to be able to share this information at a certain point to help other people also. And you've all seen me flick from black to white, black to white, black to white. And, you know, now we're in this grey, muddy area right now as a collective understanding, which I know other channels are putting out there in a very specific way. I don't think I'm supposed to be that specific right now. There is a lot of things that I've been working through, and I knew this was what the Light Renegades space was. Myself, Anna Marie, and Cabello at a certain point knew that we were the cleanup crew of all of this understanding. I've been picking up and touching the spaces within timelines that people don't want to go to. You know, it's very easy to pick a black and white understanding, but my eyesight has always been, yeah, but what's this grey bit mean? What does this mean? You know, if my heart fully isn't in the black or white, then what does this grey bit mean to me? And I feel like this has been the thing that's been this driving force of this space for me, is trying to understand and to reconcile for my own, I guess, my own personal soul, but also this understanding that a collective sphere, because there is so much out there. And if I'm being completely honest, it's like I've had to go full circle, and I was told that 2022 was coming back around again for me, and oh my gosh, is it here for me? And I realized when I went back through diaries, I was like, I'm asking the same questions that I had in 2022, but with a much higher perspective of knowledge than I did back then. And I was like, wow, okay, some things that I had questions about and no answers to, I now have the answers to. And this has really helped me find more of a solid, concrete understanding within self, and that energy of just profound knowing that is at the core of me truly does live within me. So I think this is my encouragement to you to understand and trust where you are being guided to. And the person that I met with this morning, you know, they asked if they could pray for me, and we held hands and they prayed for me. And the idea and the understanding of that just strong, centered power, and I just want to say it's a knowing that comes from prayer, has never left my life. It's always been something that has been at the heart of me. You know, if other family members pray a lot, the prayer has never left me. You know, whether you want to call this spoken word, whatever, you know, sitting down, speaking words out loud, asking the universe, God, higher, whatever, you know, questions, and just saying, show me the right path, show me the way, I think has always been such a strong strain within my life, whether I've voiced it to others or not. And I think that many are kind of looking back and combing through their history and their knowledge of expression and thinking, okay, like, what is real and true to me now? And a lot has happened on this journey for myself, for everyone involved in the Light Renegade space. So I know that all of you are going to be going through this also. So I've come full circle to go from the beginning, and I feel like I reached the end, everyone. And I'm not going to share that today, but I think I reached the pinnacle of what is possible in consciousness. And like I said, I came back. I've still not figured out exactly why I did, but I was given a choice and I decided to come back. And it is a regression. You feel all the emotions, you know, you feel the humanity coming back within self. And I want to say the polarities and the differentiations and the tugging and the confusion come back in. And it's when you are sat in meditation and prayer that you reach that higher space and that stillness. And this is why I say meditation is so important. This is why, you know, prayer is so important. I see them as one and the same. You are connecting back to that source, light, consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it, inside here. But I think where we are right now, we are having to be very certain as to where we are placing our energy, because there is a lot vying for this energy. And I realized that there was always something trying to steer me off of my true path. And people have been brought into my life path to aid this also, which is why I've come back again to help others understand and see what is always being brought towards you at any given moment. So be aware of your interactions with others. And why? Because we don't want to repeat the same cycles. It's done. We are moving forward, we are moving on, and we are moving into new cycles. Shadow and light always has to exist, but you can be aware of both of those and proceed with caution, with integrity. Don't fall back is what I want to say for everyone, especially when Mercury retrograde is retrograding. Don't regress. And sometimes we have to regress in order to be able to see that actually I've learned this lesson. I can see it more plainly than ever. That is also a great space for Mercury retrograde to teach us, oh, okay, I see this very clearly now, and I get to choose accordingly and more wisely for myself. So take from this what you will. Perhaps this is not information for yourself, but this is something that you want to share with others. The perceived self, the mirror and the projection of others, the mask, the light, the shadow, the higher self, the mask and the egos that, you know, many wear. We all mask at certain points, and this can be very innocent. You know, the mask that we wear professionally at work and the mask that we have with friends, with family, you know, that's a very innocent mask, but it is still a mask, you know. But that is a very obvious one to help you understand what a mask can be if that's the first time that you're hearing this. And also the ego in that space to keep us safe can be very, very loud. And I've had a lot of people say, you know, but how do you just trust like what you know, what is being brought forward? And it's definitely a journey for me, and a lot of mistrust has happened in the most recent years within this space, and I've really been having to cultivate that trust again. And I feel like there's been a lot of experiences for me to really test out this in the living. And like I said, when I leave the house, I'm out in the wild, because this is what I feel at all times, which is why I'm very, very intentional with the spaces that I'm in, the people that I'm communing with, because when things aren't in balance for me, it feels very grating. It doesn't feel comfortable for me, and it doesn't feel comfortable for the other person. If I'm around someone that isn't supposed to be in my energy, neither of us will have a good time, is the most basic way to say that. And that's become more abundantly obvious than ever to me. So be aware of that too. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably because something isn't alignment for you or for another person or the space that you're in, because, you know, this also comes from location too. Oh, we're getting so deep in it now, you know. This idea of mapping out spaces that feel like home to you too is also something that's been brought to my attention. This is like geographically as well as humanitally. I don't think that's a word, but you know what I mean. It goes so deep, everyone, in any given moment. So just be aware of that. The light and the shadow and the gray space. What is your gray space? What is it trying to teach you? The divine feminine energy. We've got a lot stepping forward for us, and I know that I'm going to do some channelings with an energy that really wants to speak upon that. But this Pleiadian is stepping forward, so that might be a confirmation to some. Black and white cats, crows, also magpies have been showing themselves to me. Rings has been a consistent theme. Keys, doors, vortexes. The tarot, the major arcana is a series that I've been doing over on Instagram. That's been coming forward again. Fruits and berries have been a source of understanding and vitality. Pebbles, branches, wood has also been something that's been brought to my attention again. Grass and reeds. I'm hearing fish. I'm here seeing a fishing net. Whales also, as in like orchids, that type of thing. I'm not going to say that out loud, Spirit, but thank you for the jokes. Yeah, I think that's it, everyone. I think that's it. But also understand that when you step forward on a pathway of spirituality, whatever that means, you are opening a door to everything. And I feel like that was why I started the Darkness series, because I knew that we were ready to be able to understand some doors that have been put in a space of just such strict expressions that I think needed to be there at a time, but now we're coming into spaces where we're going to have to commune with everything in order to be able to set ourselves free. And I shared this 2 years ago, and everyone looked at me like my eyes were crossed, like I was completely mad. And now I see this happening in, you know, very everyday lives of others, and I was like, I knew it. I knew this was coming. I was told this is coming. Okay, so there's also that. If that resonates with you and you would like to talk deeper with me on that, I'm here for that. But right now, I'm in research mode. I will be back when it's time, but I think I might be getting some more of these downloads to be coming in. Divine feminine energy, I will be speaking on at length when the time feels right, everyone. So please bear with me. I am still invested in this space, but I'm also doing a lot of other things behind the scenes. So yeah, be patient with me. But I'm here. I'm in this work. And if you wish to reach me, you know how to contact me, or my email address is in the description below. But that's all for today. I hope this helps, you know. I hope this helps. I hope that the diagram helps. And, you know, perhaps write out these spaces for self. You know, what is my perceived self? What is the projection in the mask of others, the mirror of others that I see within myself reflecting back to another? What's the mask that I wear? What's my shadow self? What's my light self? This is very, you know, 101 spiritual awakening. And this took, you know, months, weeks, years to put into understanding, and it came through such a such succinct way. But I had to live all of these one by one, you know, over the past 5 years. So you've got 5 years worth of understanding in a very succinct time. And, you know, some have already gone through all of this, but this is just a reminder. Sometimes we have to go back in again. And I've been very much right at the beginning of my journey, and I was like, what is happening? How am I here again? And it's like, I've forgotten so that I would remember. And now the memory is coming back, and I'm like, wait, I have learned so much, because it's easy to get lost in the source and the drama of the everything. You know, it's dramatic in these spaces. You've all witnessed it here with me. So I've been like, okay, there's a lot that I do know. There's a lot that I can share, and I feel ready to do so. So please bear with me, but I'm going to be back with hopefully more what I consider to be great wealth, and I hope that it's helping you too. But that's all for me today. Rant over, everyone, and I'll be back real soon. Take care.